What is the main focus of materials characterization in materials engineering? Great job. Analyzing the structure of materials is the accurate answer. What is the primary focus of studying thermodynamics in materials engineering? Strong choice. To analyze the energy and heat transfer in materials is the right answer. Which sequence correctly represents the historical use of materials by humans? Clear logic. Your choice ceramics, metals, polymers, composites is sound and 100% true. What is the main focus of studying stress and strain in materials engineering? Good job. Your answer, to understand the mechanical properties of materials, works well here. What are the 4 main classes of materials covered in materials engineering? You chose metals, ceramics, polymers, and composites. And it is correct. What is the significance of studying phase diagrams in materials engineering? Valid point. To predict the microstructure of materials under different conditions is true. What is one application of materials engineering in the automotive industry? Nice work. You chose creating materials that crumple upon impact to absorb energy, and it is correct. What are some real-world applications of corrosion in engineering materials? You're right. Corrosion of ship hulls is the correct answer. What is the primary advantage of using composites in aerospace engineering? Well reasoned. High strength-to-weight ratio is the correct choice. What is the measure of a material's resistance to deformation under stress? Bravo! Elasticity is the answer. Materials used in mechanical engineering must have strength to resist dash. Sharp thinking. Mechanical forces is the right choice. Engineering materials that doesn't have a good resistance to the corrosion. Correct. Metals is the right answer. Which organization leads the development of material testing standards? Nice selection. ASTM is the correct and valid answer. What is the purpose of using microscopes in materials engineering labs? Perfect. To look at the microstructures of various materials is the correct choice. The casing around copper wires is made from which type of materials? Correct response. Insulators is the most accurate answer. A substance that affects the rate of chemical reaction of materials. Nicely done. Catalyst is a solid answer. What is the main focus of a kinetics class in materials engineering? Excellent. Diffusion and how atoms move throughout a material is a brilliant choice. What is the main topic in the introduction of the learning material? Exactly. Different types of materials make sense and it is right choice. Materials made by man using both organic and inorganic substances. Excellent choice. Synthetic materials is the right answer. What type of equipment can be found in materials engineering labs? Well picked. Microscopes, pencil testers, hardness testers is the correct answer. What is a key aspect of failure analysis in materials engineering? Good thinking. Analyzing the microstructure of materials to understand failures is the right answer. Why is understanding corrosion important in engineering materials? Right again. To ensure cost-effective operations is a valid answer. Which of the following is an application of material engineering? Smart pick. Nanotechnology is the correct choice. Materials that are manufactured and used in small-scale settings. You got it. Your choice, nanomaterials, is right. Which of the following is a focus area in materials engineering? Solid response. Corrosion is a valid choice. Which of the following materials combine two or more substances? Smart move. Composites is an accurate answer. How many materials should you list in the data table for part? Great thinking. 3 is the right choice. Is combining elements to change the functionality of a material? Well done. Material engineering is the right choice. What is the purpose of analyzing diffusion in a kinetics class? On track. To understand how atoms move throughout a material is the correct answer. What is the purpose of heat treating in materials engineering? Right choice. To achieve different mechanical properties in materials is the best answer. Which of the following materials is used in pressure sensors? Smart move. Piezoelectric is an accurate answer. What is the interaction of sound waves with materials called? Well reasoned. Absorption is the correct choice. What do we do with materials when we don't need them anymore? Solid response. They are thrown away or recycled is a valid choice. What property do materials engineers not directly deal with? Well picked. Psychological properties is the correct answer. What is the level of math required in materials engineering? Sharp thinking. Calculus, algebra, and linear algebra is the right choice. Which of these is the first step in the engineering process? Great thinking. Fully understand the problem that needs to be solved is the right choice. These are the characteristics of polymeric materials except... Perfect. Good electrical conductor is the correct choice. What is the best way to prevent future corrosion incidents? Excellent choice. Implement proactive corrosion management strategies is the right answer. Which of these words is important when studying materials? Well done. Phenomenon is the right choice. What is not an example of a material used in engineering? Excellent. Computers is a brilliant choice. What is not a property analyzed in materials engineering? On track. Luckiness is the correct answer. What is an example of a composite materials application? Correct response. In the design of aircrafts, for better performance, is the most accurate answer. Process annealing is applied to which kind of materials? Good job. Your answer, low carbon steels, works well here. What is materials engineering primarily concerned with? Nice work. You chose designing, processing, testing, and discovering materials, and it is correct.
Why do we use different materials for different things?
You got it? Your choice. Because they have special properties is right.
What materials are most drink containers made of today?
Clear logic. Your choice aluminum, plastic, or glass is sound and 100% true.
All materials show the property of malleability except. Smart pick. Graphite is the correct choice. What is the measure of a material's response to heat? Correct. Thermal expansion is the right answer. Which of the following materials is a good insulator? Good thinking. Clay is the right answer. Which of these materials is not a composite material? You chose high carbon steel? And it is correct! In which sectors you work for materials of testing? Strong choice. All of the above is the right answer. Which of these is often a constraint for engineers? Right again. All of these is a valid answer. What affects how materials impact the environment? Valid point. The properties of the materials is true. Which materials are used in aviation engineering? Exactly. Composites such as carbon fiber and lightweight metals make sense, and it is right choice. Which of these correctly describes a constraint? You're right. A limit placed on the engineering process is the correct answer. What is the main focus of materials engineering? Great job! Designing, processing, testing, and discovering materials is the accurate answer. What does strength mean in terms of materials? Nicely done. The ability of a material to resist force is a solid answer. A material that combines two or more materials. Right choice. Composite is the best answer. What are the physical properties of materials? Bravo! Size, shape, look, feel, taste, smell is the answer. What is the first main point in this lecture? Nice selection. Applications of materials, science, engineering is the correct and valid answer. What are the four main categories of materials? Great job. Polymers, composites, ceramics, metals is the accurate answer. Dash is a good example of elastic materials. Right choice. Rubber is the best answer. Opportunities in testing of materials due to. Correct. All of the above correct is the right answer. What type of material absorbs sound waves? Excellent choice. Porous materials is the right answer. Forms of matter that constitute an object. Exactly. Materials make sense and it is right choice. Where do our engineering metals come from? Sharp thinking. Out of the ground in rocks is the right choice. What is the main focus of nanotechnology? Nice work. You chose all of the above, and it is correct. Why have smart materials been developed? Valid point. Developments in science and engineering is true. Select the two correct smart materials. Good job. Your answer polymorph and thermochromic ink works well here. What are plastics primarily made from?
Great thinking. Both oil and natural gas is the right choice. Properties of materials are divided in. You got it. Your choice 4 big groups is right. The lightest materials are generally. Good thinking. Polymers is the right answer. Fiberglass is familiar example of.
Clear logic. Your choice composite materials is sound and 100% true.
What is the topic of this lecture? On track. Materials science and biomedical materials is the correct answer. Materials engineering focuses on.
Smart pick. Shaping materials in products is the correct choice.
What are man-made materials? You chose materials made by people, and it is correct.
Which statement is true? Correct response. Each material looks and feels different is the most accurate answer.
Translation of alloys is. Strong choice. Leagues is the right answer. Natural materials dash. Nice selection. All of the above is the correct and valid answer. Material sciences. Right again. The study of materials that are around us is a valid answer. How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format?
Well done. Contact Narayan Changder is the right choice.